yeah, we're just going to go on the assumption we're live because I can't see the screen. So, yeah, if we're not live, we're now live. We're now live. We're now live. We're definitely live. Yeah, we're really quickly, does anybody prefer, just so we can get this going, do you think that the silly digital head is no good? Or do you think that the digital head is funny? Better crack? Yes or no? Which one would you prefer? So if you want the head, type 1 in the chat. And if you want the logo, type 2 in the chat.
That sounds like a loaded question.
No, well, no logo 2. Yes logo. Now you've confused me, Richard. 1 for the head, 2 for the logo. All right? Everybody should be able to hear me. I did unmute the stream. Yeah, you can hear. Yeah. We've got a floating head. We've got a 1 for the floaty head from Chris. We've got a 5. Why isn't Richard late for this channel? Because I emailed him 3 times in 2 days and contacted him specifically today twice after the incident that happened. And speaking of which, Richard, do you want to say anything?
Speaking of which, yes, I would. Yes, I would. And this specifically to Lucy Luxor, please accept my most humble apologies. I'm an idiot. I have some kind of a birth defect that I cannot explain, but when I try to transfer these times into different time zones, it just turns out wrong. And there's no excuse. It's just how that is for me. Ask any MathPig, he'll tell you. True story.
I did tell her today.
My sincere apologies.
Well, hopefully, we can get that sorted and, yeah, maybe take a day or 2. We all, yeah. I don't know. It happened. It would have been good fun. It would have been definitely good fun, and perhaps we can get a rescheduling going.
Perhaps she can forgive me in a week or 2. We'll see.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be doing the scheduling if there's going to be scheduling from now on. Don't you be fucking jumping in and going and texting her going, let's do it tomorrow. You just text me and I'll text her and I'll convert time zones for you. All right.
Terrible, right?
Nerdy, I'm not even going to show you the message that he sent me today when doing Clockma's. There was actually a carry the 3. Okay, I don't know why there was a carry the 3 in the middle. Yeah, confusing. So, Richard, is there anything that we went over last week that you want to cover at the start of this week's episode? And just a shout out to the crowd as well. Thanks everybody for turning up. Sorry, Richard. Is the audio and the visuals all good?
Yes, peace and respect to you all. And thanks for your attendance and your participation. And speaking of participation, we wouldn't be, I think, MathPig and myself, adverse to if you'll tag his name or my name in the chat. Anything that comes to mind as we're doing this. We don't have to wait for the end of it. We can stop for side chat if you guys have a thought. And that would make the show, I think, even more interactive, better.
Yeah, it says out in the 3rd line of the description. Check the description. All our bits and bobs is there. All Richard's contact details are there. His email, his Twitter. Every way of contacting him, although he only looks at his email and he doesn't have a phone. So, yeah, take a chance. Send him an email. You might get a reply. Sorry.
So who of us is reading today?
Oh, no, well, you can do most of the reading, and I throw in with my Irish charm every now and again. And as you say, is there anything you need to cover from last week that we missed or wanted to point out? Or
there was no citations I needed to make. It was generally that Lucy felt it was very hard, very rough on the Nephilim and the fallen watchers. What God was mandating. I think that's a heartfelt and beautiful sentiment, but if it's true that we only judge someone responsible when they're well informed, then the well informed are responsible. And from what I can understand of this text, it says that the watchers were very well informed and are responsible for their own actions. So they should not have a reprieve. They should not have forgiveness. Whereas our situation, well, it's a little bit different than that. I think we're hardly informed.
Well, compared to the fact that they had a direct line with God via Enoch, okay, you could send a letter and it took a wee while, but we can't even send a letter to God. They were definitely more connected, if that's what you're making the reference to.
I think more than that, like Lucy said, they cut God cut off their Twitter and unfriended them on Facebook. That before that they had personal relationship. So, that should have them well informed.
Oh yeah, I totally understand. Like, they know what he looks like. They've hung out. They've had a beer.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I would agree in Lucy's statement that it was very cruel what he was doing, but I can see that your point. So, as Switzerland stays in the middle, I'll just chapter 15, Richard.
Chapter 15. Yes, and highlighted and stuff. Yeah, that looks like a nice little amount there. And he answered and spoke to me with his word. Hear and fear not, Enoch, thou just man and scribe of justice. Approach hither and hear my words. And go, say to the watchers of heaven who have sent thee, that thou shouldst petition for them. Ye should petition for men, and not men for you. Why have you left the high, holy, and everlasting heaven, and lain with women, and defiled yourselves with the daughters of men, and taken wives unto yourselves, and acted like the children of the earth, and begotten giants as sons? While ye were spiritual, holy, having eternal life, ye defiled yourselves with women, and with the blood of flesh have begotten children, and have lusted after the blood of men, and have produced flesh and blood as they produce, who die and are destroyed. Therefore I have given them wives that they might impregnate them, and children be born by them, as it is done on earth. Ye were formerly spiritual, living in eternal life without death to all generations of the world. Therefore I have not made for you any wives, for spiritual beings have their home in heaven. And now the giants, who have been begotten from the body and flesh, will be called evil spirits on the earth, and their dwelling places will be upon the earth. I think that's a good place to stop right there at 9.
Yeah, no, it's trying to figure out how far you're going to go, and then it's like, what?
Well, I was trying to get to the end of the thought.
Yeah, I know. I read ahead for like one sentence there, and it was like, ye were formerly spiritual. I was like, oh, right, well, that's that. He's finished the story, so we'll go from 5. No.
I think this causes, and other works in the other lines in the Bible cause a lot of confusion, especially in those studying the Bible not so rigorously. That it is true, according to the script, that a man has flesh and a man has spirit. And to say that someone has a spirit doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have flesh. After all, what we're talking about here is angels having flesh and reproducing with people on this planet. So if that's true, then, by my understanding of how babies are made, that takes, a sperm. So I'm thinking these beings have sperm, and they just have spiritual flesh.
Yeah, where. Now, I'm not great on English. Is that the where, or which where is that? Is that were spiritual as in past tense?
Yes. That
having is obviously past, so, they had a spiritual, holy, eternal life.
Right. It was already granted them that they could live in perfection. They already were living in perfection. And they gave up what was perfect. I believe they thought this was going to be a better deal, which according to the text cannot be true and thereby a lie. So in an internal critique, they believed a lie.
Well, you could look at it from another point of view, man, and say if you'd lived forever, you're bound to be bored. If somebody had just created something that was very similar to you and horny all the time, you'd go have fun. Like it's a new experience. It's something that...
Oh, well, that lends to Christian doctrine that is disproven by the text as well.
What do you mean by Christian doctrine? I just mean, like it says here, you had eternal life, you agreed with that, and if you had eternal life, you'd get bored. That's my opinion.
Right, I got that, but it lends to the idea that angels don't have sex amongst themselves.
Well, I'm not saying
that's
that. No,
Christian doctrine.
No, I'm not saying that. You can go and have sex with everybody, but it's you're going to get bored with it. Everybody's the same. This is a different new thing.
Why would that be boring? I mean, it's not like female people on this planet would be significantly different, except probably not smell as good as angels would.
Well, what? Is everybody in heaven now polyamorous?
It says angels are not taken to marriage. So that makes me think they don't have like official contracts and things like that like we do here.
You would agree.
They're just with whoever they're with in the moment.
Yes, but I could look at probably the internet now and the fact that there's new sex robots and stuff coming out and that look exactly like us, and people are tempted to try that.
Oh yeah, they're probably tempted. I think that's like a microwave oven. You know, it's nice that it's neat and tidy and quick, and you don't have to do a lot of preparation or cleanup because of the microwave. I get that. But just the same, I mean, you can't beat mom's lasagna no matter how much you microwave stuff. It's just not the same thing as having two loving hands prepare a meal for you.
Oh, I understand that, but the point I'm trying to make is new things are desirable, and a certain percentage of people...
For a time.
For a time. They have now went and seen something that is desirable, something that is new. They've spent, eternity being with the same sort of thing, and something new's come up. So, maybe not
I
just
think the only excuse, the only way I can justify what they did and how they were tempted by it is I think that they were going to steal what we would call Sodom and Gomorrah, that they tried to take over those two towns and take them from God. I think that was, the overview of it, if you will.
Right. Well, I can see on both sides, but I just wanted to make clear that there is possibilities of two. They could have seen it as a better deal. They also could have been bored with what they're doing. Two different points of view. We obviously don't agree.
I'm just presenting the other side of the same idea that I think that a person could, from our point of view, see a situation that would be described as perfect as eventually getting boring. I mean, I can see that, but it depends on so many things that it's really hard for me to say. I suppose that if heaven were perfect, it couldn't become boring. So I think that what's being described is a constant growth process off of this planet, and that is the perfection being described. Not that, you would plug into the matrix and automatically know everything. I don't think it would be like that.
But as somebody said once, or multiple people have said, if you take the most pleasurable moment of your entire life and repeat it over and over and over again for eternity, it gets boring, man. It doesn't have its, that's the thing. Even if it is pleasurable for you to continue to enjoy it, you maybe lose part of yourself, or the most pleasurable thing that you do can be boring over time. Eternity drags in more boring. It just gets boring.
Here's the problem that I have with that. I'm operating with my present brain, and I see things the way that I see them right now, being not perfected. I'm not certain that would maintain. I'm not certain I could look at things the same way if I was 1.5 times my present intelligence, for instance.
Intelligence gives you, maybe a different perspective and a different way of looking at things. And perhaps if you defined intelligence by analyticals, you could look at things more and take things apart more. But that would just make things get boring quicker.
I'm not sure that's true. I think the truth of it is the more intelligent and connected someone is, the more interesting and the more compassionate they are.
Yes, I would agree with that. But actually doing something over and over again, generally you would find, I'm not putting this in derogatory in any way, I'm just trying to make a broad statement, but You look at
Oh,
people
yeah.
who live in a trailer park who are stereotypically not very intelligent, who do the same things over and over and over and over again for their entire life, and they don't get bored.
Sure.
You look at somebody smart who wants to educate themselves, they go and do one class. After they've figured that class out, they move on to something else. They get bored. You know, I find that more intelligent people get bored quicker.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that the Christian doctrinal view of the text, saying that angels just do like one or two different things and that's about it, that life in short order would become very, very boring. I mean, how long can you lay on a cloud playing a harp? And that never even sounded appealing to me. I'm very glad that's not actually what the text is describing, but they've taken a snapshot of a kid sliding down a water slide with his hands in the air, and they've stretched that in both directions to eternity, and they think that kid is just permanently there. I'm making the comparison of the angels in the book of Revelation, that they think that that's all that angels do. But there's actually a lot of things described in the text that are not part of that single snapshot, and I'm very glad for that. And I wouldn't want to live that way forever. I think that would be horrible, actually.
Well, I think we've both covered that we have different views of it. That's the whole idea of this. So,
Yes.
welcome,
Bill Ashby and KL.
Yeah, KL's been popping in now. It's nice to see you, KL. I appreciate you coming back. We should definitely have you on some night, man. Everything's below. Give me an email. Send Richard a tweeter or twatter or whatever you want to call it, and arrange a wee hangout with him or a hangout with myself. Or yeah, be nice to get to know you better. Richard, do you want to use your voice to read?
I think I can. Yeah. Evil spirits proceeded from their bodies because they were created from above, their beginning and the first basis being from the holy watchers. They will be evil spirits upon the earth and will be called evil spirits. But the spirits of heaven have their dwelling place in heaven, and the spirits of the earth who were born on the earth have their dwelling places on the earth. And the spirits of giants who cast themselves upon the clouds will be destroyed and fall, and will battle and cause destruction on the earth, and do evil. They will take no kind of food, nor will they become thirsty, and they will be invisible. And these spirits will not rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them in the days of murder and destruction. So that's all pretty self-explanatory, right?
Total sense.
Sure.
Yep, just no bother at all. Like,
Piece of cake. Moving on now. So I think this is talking about the spirit as in like the spirit of a school, or the spirit of fairness. That what's being referred to here is a spirit of greed and injustice. And of course, that kind of a spirit doesn't eat or drink or become thirsty, of course, and is invisible. Not that it means disembodied spirits. I've never actually known of a consciousness outside of a mind. So I believe that consciousness is an emergent property of mind and cannot be outside of a mind.
I love the way that you worded that. It's very particular and specific on the use of particular words, but very concise. I get exactly what you're saying. More of a metaphorical thing. And the fact that they will be called evil spirits is like a nickname. They're going to be bad. They're the person. They're the Nephilim. They're the, yeah.
Well, we find this kind of language throughout the apocalyptic genre of texts. So it's not surprising to see it here.
No, I agree with you 100%. Right.
So I think this is talking about what man has adopted from angels that is negative amongst us, and how we act in accordance with those idea systems and or quote unquote spirits.
Yes, and they're not obviously going to rise up against us though, because they have
because we adopt them. They're part of our culture. Yes. They're part of our systems of looking at life. So yeah, they don't rise up against us.
No. So as
Right.
you say, completely self-explanatory. It just explained itself.
Yeah, see, no problem. And then 16.
Oh, what have I done here?
You grabbed hold of something you didn't mean to, I think. What is that?
I don't know. What have I done? I just want to highlight chapter 6. There we go.
There we go. Oh, that's much better.
Oh, is it working? Is it working, Hank?
It's working. I can't say it like you guys do, but
I don't know if you can hear my fire, but I have a couple of blocks in the fire and it's spitting like fucking crazy here. The sticks are going mad. I apologize.
oh,
if you
that's
can hear
good.
that.
It's very calming. I like the snapping of a fire.
Sorry, continue.
And the death of the giants. When the spirits have proceeded from their bodies, their flesh shall decay without judgment. Thus they shall be destroyed till that day when the great judgment over all the world shall be completed over the watchers and the impious. And now to the watchers who have sent thee, that thou shouldst petition for them who were formerly in heaven, say, Ye have been in heaven, and though the secrets were not yet revealed to you, still ye knew illegitimate mysteries, and these ye have, in the hardness of your hearts, related to the women. And through these mysteries women and men increased wickedness over the earth. Tell them therefore ye have no peace. Whew, that gave me chills. Wow.
Yeah, so the death of the giants, whose spirits. Now, you said that it was a metaphorical thing with the spirit, and I think here it's actually implying more of an actual spirit, because it says that your body will die.
I completely agree with you that this is talking about the judgment at the end of the planet,
Yep.
where the watchers who have fallen will have their sentencing executed.
Yes. So are you saying that they're going to be split from their body and their spirit's going to be put in a wee hiatus until the end of the earth?
No. I'm saying their flesh will perish with the earth, along with the impious.
But it says, thus they shall be destroyed till the
Right.
day. Not on the day, till the day.
Hold on a second. Let me find it again. Well, we can read it again. The death of giants, when the spirits proceeded from the bodies, the flesh will decay without judgment. Thus shall be destroyed till the day when the judgment. Thus shall be destroyed. Shall be future tense, destroyed past tense.
Yeah,
Till
so
that day when the great judgment over all the world shall be completed over the watchers and the impious.
Yeah, so they're going to get killed now, and their spirit's going to have to hang about and wait till the day.
I think the wait till the day is physical imprisonment, and not execution, because it keeps saying the same theme again that looks like, by our culture it looks like it's contradictory.
No. In all honesty, Richard, when I read that and I seen that it shall be destroyed until the day, and made that point, in my mind, the justification you were going to come up with is they're going to be put in prison because they're immortal, they can last to the end. That's what came into my mind was going to be your justification.
Yep, you're right. That would be my justification. That's the way I look at it.
Right. That
And
just
it could
means
be
I'm
wrong,
fucking
but
hanging
that's the
about
way
with
my
you
mind
too
sees
much.
it.
I'm hanging about with you too goddamn much.
Well, at least I'm consistent enough to be predictable. That's good.
I'll give you that. I'm not cracking on it, but I was like, right. In my mind, if this was actual physical people, considering that they live for... Did you hear that?
It's good. It's good popping fire.
It scared
Nice and
the
hot.
dog. I may need to put the fire guard on. Yes, I was thinking of an immortal being... Yeah, taking your point of view and looking at it from your point of view, I expected you to say that they were in prison.
Since I see evidence that we still... Since I see evidence there were Nephilim in the earth in those days and thereafter, and I still see evidence of them, then I think it has not been completed. So I think it's still waiting. The whole thing is waiting.
Yeah, well,
That's what I think.
Yeah, even if it says at the end, tell them therefore ye have no peace, that means that you're actually conscious during the wait.
Good point.
I would take that as you have to be conscious during the wait. If that's... I need to stop hanging about with you, man. You're making me crazy. Right.
And lots of commentary that we don't need to read.
Yeah, we're going to highlight that pink. Isn't that what we were doing?
Yeah. Red for not red.
Stupid thing.
We'll make it pink, which my screen shows red, with that you say is purple.
Well, you see, I have two different screens, and one of them actually has a better a better coloring than the other. And funnily enough, the Samsung is the worst one. A Nord Mende, whatever the fuck a Nord Mende is, that actually has the better color resolution.
Huh.
It's in desperate need of a better control system because it's one button that just moves up and down, and if you hit it the wrong way, it switches. That's why sometimes I'd be talking to you, and then all you can hear is me going, I've switched the TV screen off, I'll be back in a minute. I'm trying to do the volume. And
see, to my monitor, that color matches this print behind me, which I know is magenta.
Yeah, now that is pink. That is purple.
That's purple. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't even go so far as saying purple, but it's definitely not pink. That's pink.
How about chartreuse? Is it chartreuse? I don't even know what chartreuse means. It's just a funny sounding word to me.
Right. Why am I looking at the wrong tree? Okay, section 5 we were on. Chapter 17. There's chapter 18, so you can read the whole chapter. It's a wee short one.
Lovely. Short chapter. And it unhighlighted itself. But anyway. Do we have anything in the side chat? Guys, if you want to interrupt, please do interrupt, but be sure to use a proper @MathPig or @Richard Madsen to get your comment, question, thought, objection noticed.
Yes, because I am running off the mobile phone for the live chat. My OBS and all the chat is hidden behind this, so unless you @me, I'll not be able to see it. I do see KL, and I keep trying to jump in and represent it, but the chat's moving fast. KL, if you want to make a point, if you could just @me, that would be a hell of a lot easier. It'll jump out a lot more at me.
KL just made a comment. Were that phrased as a question, we could address it. If you want to rephrase that, KL. It looks like a series of statements that you do understand that I would not agree with that. If you want to state that as something we can discuss, we would.
Right, we'll give him a chance to think of that, and we'll do chapter 17, which I just interrupted you and stopped you from doing.
And they took me to a place where there were images like flaming fire. And when they wished they had appeared like men. And he led me to the place of the whirlwind, and on a high hill. I added the word high by accident. And on a hill. And the point of whose summit reached to heaven. And I saw shining places, and the thunder at the ends, in the depth thereof, a bow of fire. And arrows, and their quiver, and a sword of fire, and all lightning. And they took me to the so-called water of life, and to the fire of the west, which receiveth every setting of the sun. And I came to a river of fire, whose fire flowed like water, and is emptied into a great sea, which is towards the west. And I saw all the great rivers, and came to a great darkness, and went there where all flesh wanders. And I saw the mountain of the black clouds of winter, and the place whither all the waters of the deep flow. And I saw mouths of the rivers of the earth, and the mouth of the deep. Period. Okie dokie. Well, this is getting very, very cryptic now, isn't it?
Well, it's a representation of what I assume is Enoch writing this.
Yes.
Yes, from his perspective, and he's been taken up to the spaceship.
That's also how I see it. That these, except for the part where the sun sets and everything is fire, I think that's a reference to how the earth is destroyed, the lake of fire, like a river of fire, and everything's on fire and fire. But other than that, I'd say he's talking about the deep being space, the great darkness being space. So generally, I think that the picture that's in your mind is very close to the picture in mine.
I would totally disagree with you with that. I would consider this to be a description of a volcanic island. And they took me to the so-called water of life, to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. And I came to a river of fire, whose fire flows like water, and is emptied into a great sea. Now, this particular thing happens all the goddamn time on volcanic islands.
Yes, it does. In the other text, in the view I've adopted, overall it's saying the same thing. You're talking about a singular volcanic event. I'm talking about thousands upon thousands of volcanic events all over the planet simultaneously.
Okay, yes, but this, and he took me to an island, or he took me to the end of the earth.
I think that island is the earth. It's not talking about one part of the earth.
So you think he's taking him to the future?
Where all lightning is, and where all water is, and where...
Now, in understanding of what you believe, Richard, Enoch may have been a person on another planet. This be another story which is going to happen. Okay, some parts of it have happened on other Earths, and some parts of it are due to happen on this Earth, which is like a circular history. What has happened before will happen again, sort of thing. Right now, what you're saying, though, the fact that he's took him to that and witnessing all of the Earth catching fire and all of it going mad, suggests to me that these guys have time travel now?
I can't answer to that. I have no idea. It is entirely possible.
No,
okay, if I take it a little bit maybe too literally, then I could say that it seems to me in the text that there's one of these events about every 1,000 years somewhere. Thus the 1,000 years of peace, then 1,000 years of Satan. And
if the text had said, and he showed me the so-called water of life to the far of the west, I would say, okay, aliens, they're just showing him a video recording of one of the other Earths being blown up, and this is going to happen. But they took him there. He actually physically went to this place. So he physically went to the end of the Earth where it's all getting fucked up, and then they took him back again in time. So they have complete control over time, which is impossible from what we know at the minute.
Right.
Or
it could be they took him to the end of an Earth. That he just saw a different Earth being destroyed. That also could be in my mind. I'm just saying it's a possibility. I don't know.
Well, that's why we're here to hash it out. That's my idea, is the fact that it's representing an island somewhere, a distant land.
Right.
More so than a distant planet. But I can see.
But I also see that the end of the Earth is referred to that same way everywhere that it's referred to. That it's like spoken of from off the planet, like Eden is.
But
he
the
made a new Garden of Eden to the east.
Again, though, but you're saying something like this happens on a different Earth every 1,000 years, okay? So if he flew over to one, he flew over to one, and it happened, then that means that he's going to fly back, and we've 1,000 years. It's like, is there so many Earths that it's happening all the time? When a sun implodes and it does supernova, it's very rare that it happens, but there's that many of them. We can find loads of them. So that would mean that the numbers are high. There's more than 24 Earths, or the fact that if there's only one happening every 1,000 years, that means that there's going to be gaps in between the other 23, and it's just the timing doesn't work out.
I can see what you mean by the timing doesn't work out, and I have that question myself, and I'm kind of afraid to ask in prayer about the answer to that question.
Can I ask you one question before you? Can I just ask you one question before you ask yours?
Sure.
What direction is east when you're in space?
There is no direction east when you're in space.
So there's no direction of west when you're in space?
Also true. Okay,
so the far to the west.
Right.
It makes sense to be stealing nerdy here. I'm sorry to say I'm stealing nerdy's I'm also stealing nerdy's technology to make me look like this, but stealing nerdy's question. He pointed out, without saying a question, that east makes no sense if you're not on a planet, which is correct.
Absolutely true. It only makes sense if you're on a planet. So it's written to our perspective, not from our perspective.
Okay, so if you're on a planet and the next planet is to the east, give it 12 hours, it'll be to the west. Would that not be right?
No. Well, from here it would be.
Yes, it's behind you now instead of to the left. It'll be physically moved.
The way I see it, it's an expression meaning like over there without being specific. If it's true that this planet is the Garden of Eden, and Eden was planted to the east. Was it east? To the east or to the west? I can't remember which one it was now.
I know, because
anyway,
I said east, but it said to the west.
It's just an expression meaning not right here. That's all that would mean, is like not where I am in space, but some other place. That's all. I mean, that's all that's good for. From what I understand, if you're going to find something in space, you need four directions. You can't just triangulate. You need a fourth dimension, or at least that's what I learned from Stargate.
The ninth chevron takes you to another spaceship. Stargate Universe was amazing. Okay, right. Chapter 18 then.
Yeah.
I think we've hashed that out and we both made our points on, I think it's an island, you
Sure.
think it's another planet.
Yeah, well, from a class 3, 4, 5, or 6 civilization, you would look at this planet as a small island. So
yes, I understand what you're saying,
kinda,
but it's just the fact that it is the directions. It's very picky, choosy it's sort of manipulating. If you don't mind me using that word, I know it's a derogatory term, but picking and choosing in the text to match your narrative, because it literally
Sure.
says took them somewhere, and if they took them to another planet, that would take time. The timing wouldn't work out because there's only 23 Earths, and every 1,000 years, as you say, this has to happen.
I'm not sure it takes time to travel.
Okay, but the timing between destructions still has to happen. And Enoch would
Right.
need to be around 1,000 years. Minimum,
Why?
I hadn't finished. A minimum of at least a couple of hundred for this to witness,
Why?
for it to happen. Why? Because
why?
Was Enoch not around when the flood came?
Well, I believe the book's names are the names of the books. That for instance, the prophet Daniel, or whatever, the book's name is the prophet Daniel. It's not a person who lived here. And the reason I believe that is because there's two that look like conflicting statements in the Christian text, saying, I sent no prophet and you killed my prophets. But the first one, I sent no prophet, in context, immediate context, means a speaking prophet.
It could also
But
mean
the
that I
second
sent
one doesn't mean speaking prophet.
Nobody sent me to help you. But if it turns out that your God is correct, did he send
Right.
you here? No. He just gave you now,
What?
and you're doing this. He didn't send you here. But if I shot you down, I'd still be shooting one of his prophets. He didn't send
What?
you, and I'd still shoot you down. So it's not a conflicting statement if you look at it that way. Do you consider?
Yeah, if you mean metaphorically, right. Yeah, metaphorically, you could mean that either way.
I'm just saying it's another way to look at it. You don't need to send someone for them to be your prophet.
Right. But he also says he sends only one speaking prophet. And that speaking prophet would be the hero of the story, knowing all there is to know. It'd have to be the Christ, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that's fine, but we're diverging off the topic. I just think that the statements that's used in this, with the physical locality, the fact that it says west, the fact that he was tucked there, the timing between when the information was betrayed upon him and when the actual flood came and destruction of the Nephilim, the timings
Right.
don't work out, and it means to me more of an island, someone describing an island, than it would.
Okay.
Now, I know that you need to say the things that you're saying for it to match your narrative, and that's the way. I don't mean to say that you need to say that.
Can't
I know
look
that
at
that's
it
the way your
differently.
brain's wired, is to look at that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give you a different perspective, something more
Well,
in line with what
let's hold on just a second, because let's say it happened every 1,000 years, okay? That there was an end of an Earth about every 1,000 years, and let's say that Enoch wrote this about 1,000 years ago, which, by the way, that the story's about that age.
The paper story
Okay.
is about that age. The actual paper is 800 and something, but generally these stories are passed down verbally.
200 years older than that or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but
something
for an
it's
awful
about.
lot longer.
I'm saying about.
Yeah, but for
Okay.
longer. For longer.
So all I'm suggesting is that it's possible for me personally to believe that either the angels had like a holodeck and showed it to him in like 3D images that weren't real, though he thought they were, or they actually took him to the end of an earth.
That's fine. The holodeck is more probably plausible. You hadn't mentioned that before.
Be easier, I guess.
Yeah, it would be an awful lot easier, but then that would coincide with the tuck, because he actually was there, rather than the video, as I mentioned earlier, rather than showing him something, Right. But I'm just pointing out that this is your first time reading it since your conversion back to it. It's obviously a wee bit in your mind. Your memory's a lot better than mine, and I'm trying to guess where you're going and anticipate and give different points of view, question you and poke at you, which is what you've asked me from the very start, and what only
it's
makes
good for the audience.
Help the audience, help the story, and But one other thing, just as I wanted to refer back to that before we move on to this, is the written version is 800 and something years old. That does not give us any determination on when the actual verbal started. Okay, the story could be an awful lot longer than that. It could be another 1,000 years older than that. It could be 10,000 years older than that. And started off as somebody telling stories about chickens. We don't know, because we only know about the paper version, and that's 800 and something years old. That can be tested.
Welcome, God the Good One.
He was in earlier giving you shit from not being in the stream with Lucy.
Good for him.
He's come back. But he is having trouble writing a book before paper was invented. He's working on the Bible Mark II. It should be out this year on audiobook.
KL, I'd like to address what you wrote there. If you'd written my last name too, that would have popped up colored for me, would have been easier to spot. That would have been nice, but that's okay. I think I shouldn't be addressing your comment right here, right now. But if you look at, except for this, I'll say quickly, if you look at Hebrews 1 and 11, it does use plural worlds. By these invisible things, God so created the worlds, actually. So, I mean, I have a lot of support for what I'm saying.
Richard also used
textually
now,
in the Bible.
If I'm going to get this right, just to give KL some information, and hopefully I'll get this right. Richard reads a mid-16th century King James version.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's the version that he uses. So I'm wondering, does it say worlds in your version or worlds in the original? Something to look at. Because it wasn't.
Well, each different sect of Christianity has come out with its own Bible now, and it fits the way that they look at it. So, I mean, that's fine if you're already in that church and the Bible's going to be warm and fuzzy and never disagree with your church. Is that meaningful? Probably not.
No, the point I'm saying is go back and look at the original. Don't look at the one your church gives you.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. I'm just saying and letting him know that the version that Richard reads is a mid-16th century King James version, Old English style, and if you wanted to refer to the original to what Richard reads, that'll give you a reference point.
Yeah, this is the 1537 Matthews did not go through Nicaea. Is not a King James Bible, was directly translated from the original scripts, as close as we have to signature scripts. You can't get a more clean translation. Unfortunately, you have to learn to read Middle English, which is a little bit difficult, but not horrible.
Well, I have to say, I didn't expect the second last comment from KL. I didn't want that to sound like he was adversarial or anything, but he says he loves Richard and the way he thinks. And
that's very nice.
Even though you generally disagree on everything, that's very nice to see. And KL, definitely appreciate it here, man, with your approach to the conversation. Don't laugh at me. Stop laughing at me.
I love your voice, man. It sounds like a dance. I just want to break out and dance hearing you talk. But let's move on with the text just the same.
Go on ahead. Chapter 18. And the repositories is all you're going to get out of me in English.
Of all the winds, and I saw how he had ornamented all the creation and the foundations of the earth with them. And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. And I saw the four winds which support the earth, and the firmament of the heavens. Boy, I bet flat earthers are loving this part. And I saw how the winds expand the heights of the heavens, and they remained between the heaven and the earth. And they are pillars of heaven. And I saw the winds which turned the heavens, which led down the course of the sun and all the stars. And I saw the winds upon the earth which carry the clouds. And I saw the paths of the angels. And I saw the ends of the earth, the firmament and the heavens above. And I proceeded towards the south. And it burns day and night there where 7 hills of precious stones are, 3 towards the east, 3 towards the south. But of those toward the east, 1 colored stone, 1 of pearls, and 1 of antimony, and those toward the south of red stones. But the middle one reached up to the heaven, like the throne of God, of alabaster, and the summit of the throne of sapphire. And I saw a burning fire, which was in all the hills. And there I saw a place beyond the great earth. There the waters collected, and I saw a great abyss in the earth, with columns of heavenly fire. And I saw among them columns of heavenly fire, which fall and are without number, either toward the heights or toward the depth. And over that abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of heaven above it, and no foundation of earth beneath it. Boy, that sounds like space. And no water above it, and no birds upon it. And it was a void place. And there I saw a terrible thing, 7 stars, like great burning mountains, and like spirits that petitioned me. The angel said, "This is the place of consummation of heaven and earth. It is a prison for the stars of heaven and for the host of heaven. And the stars that roll over the fire are they who have transgressed the command of God before their rising, because they did not come forth in their time. And he was enraged at them and bound them till the time of the consummation of their sins in the year of the misery."
Okay, I just want to address some things now, and then you can go with yours, right? That bit, and bound them, I would agree with the imprisonment over ripping out of their souls. And
Right.
All of this, right, with the void and all of that, what you described earlier about going into space, I think it just happened. So he's went to the island, and then he's had his super crazy mushroom trip. Sorry, he's left and went to the spaceship. Right? So he's went
it's one of those two for sure, I think.
It's definitely one or the other. But I think originally what we were pointing out about the East and the West, I think you were, in the story it happened, you just came across the conclusion a little earlier. I think further on here, it definitely says, like, into the void, no firmament above it. That's clearly a description of space. I just think that you were a wee bit early. What you're saying before, I think applies more now. But I think we get some validation for what happened before with the East and the West. And look, there's different pillars or there's different stones of different colours and different directions. So
this is also, I think this book came before the Bible, and this shows up in the Bible elsewhere as the 7 mountains of the throne of God. I think this shows up again in the later text. Of course, I shouldn't even be talking about that, but it does.
Yeah, well, I think that this is, I think that what you described before may have just happened. But I think that before was definitely talking about going somewhere to be taken to the spaceship. But I would agree with you that what they're talking about now definitely sounds like, as you would say, heaven. I would say spaceship. Spaceship.
Spaceship.
Spaceship.
Space weather.
No, you haven't watched the Lego movie. There's an 80s Lego character that when he eventually gets to make a spaceship, he flies around in it. And spaceship!
Wait. This is the pizza reference.
No, this is
but
the
I'll not
Lego
speak
movie.
about that.
Lego movie, man.
It's the Lego movie which became a pizza reference.
I don't know of the pizza reference.
Little kid eats pizza for the first time.
Well,
but anyway,
I don't think we need to go over that, because I think that you covered your opinion from before. You were just a little too early.
It's not so terrible.
So
let's see. And Uriel said to me, "Here will stand the souls of those angels who have united themselves with women, and having assumed many different forms, having contaminated mankind and have led them astray, so that they brought offerings to the demons as to gods, namely on the day when the great judgment on which they will be judged shall be consummated. And their women, having led astray, and angels of heaven, will be like their friends. And I, Enoch, alone saw this vision, the end of it all, and no man has seen them as I have seen them. Wow. Yeah, I think that's why Enoch ends up ascending and is never buried on this planet.
What do you mean by
just
ascension?
Saw too much.
What do you mean by ascension? He got taken up to the spaceship early.
Yeah, according to the Bible, he and two others, I think they saw too much to be prophets. They may have been actual people on the planet against the rule that I generally follow.
That's actually a Next Generation episode. A certain person was taken up to the ship by mistake. Well, not taken up to the ship by mistake, but seen too much, was then in the ship, figured out everything, and rather than go back and rejoin their people, knowing what they knew, they committed suicide.
Oh, that's sad.
They did give him the opportunity to stay. They offered him to stay as like an ascension, and it was too much for him, and he didn't want to leave everybody behind that he loved, so he committed suicide instead.
I can understand that, actually. Yeah. Okay, so I think this is just repeating things already said, except for the part where it says no one saw it but Enoch.
Yeah, well, that's just letting us know that particular thing. We got a mention of Gabriel. We got some thunder here. Chapter 20, short but exciting. What is the oldest copy of Mark? KL, tag me.
Copy of Mark. I'm personally
I know it starts tomorrow. I can't wait, Bill. Sorry to interrupt, but Picard is coming out tomorrow. The new Star Trek series. His number one is a dog, a pit bull, specifically because the UK bans them and he thinks they're a fantastic dog.
I don't know what any of that meant.
Captain Picard, as in Patrick Stewart, has a new series coming out based on a continuation of the Next Generation that was out in the 90s.
His first mate is a pit bull?
He named his dog number one. He has retired and works on a farm, works on a vineyard in France in the new series, because he's obviously grown up, and he named his dog number one.
Oh, okay.
He didn't actually take the dog on and put the dog in charge of the spaceship. That would be mad.
Oh, good. That's good. I was kind of wondering about that.
But yeah, it's going to be amazing. Right, chapter 20. Lay it upon us, Richard. Lay it down. Come on.
And these are the names of the holy angels who watch. Uriel, one of the holy angels, and the angel of thunder and of trembling. Raphael, one of the holy angels, the angel of the spirits of men. Raguel, one of the holy angels who takes vengeance on the earth and the luminaries. Michael, one of the holy angels, namely set over the host, over the best portion of men and over the people. Seraquel, one of the holy angels who is over the spirits of the children of men, who induce the spirits to sin. Gabriel, one of the holy angels who is over the serpents and over the paradise and the cherubim.
Right. Either I'm hanging about with you too much, or would you agree with this statement that Michael, one of the holy angels, namely set over the best portion of men, the reason we all know Michael that much is because he interacted with the Israelites, or whatever you want to refer to them as, the people of the Bible, the chosen people. And that's why he's mentioned so much and we all know of him so much. Best portion of men being a reference to them.
Certainly we hear more of just a few of the angels from the Christian text than we do everywhere else. I agree with that. Gabriel, Michael, Uriel, a few others. But does that mean the Jews are the chosen people? I think the word Jew means believes in God, and Gentile means doesn't believe in God, and it's just as simple as that.
I may be getting the name wrong, but you know the people that I'm referring to. You know the children of David, the people in the Bible, the chosen people, whatever you want to refer to them as.
The children of Israel, the Jews.
Yes. I think they're called Jews now, but they weren't called Jews then.
Why not? Of course, that's not Jew is not a Jewish word, but
Let's stop saying that because we're going to trigger the algorithm and it's going to give me a flag, right?
we're not saying anything negative about the Hebrew people.
We get the
It's
reference.
not anti-Semitic or anything like that. I mean, gosh. It's obvious there are older religions than Judaism.
Yes.
And that would have been known. And if people were writing a text like the Tanakh, the Torah, all this, if the Nevi'im, if they were writing these things, they wouldn't have just written Gentile and Jew as if nothing else existed. There were other religions that praised Yahweh.
I understand that the religion has survived for an awful long period of time, and people from then have passed their traditions down. But do you think that the people of Sumer were called Sumerian?
No, I think not.
No, exactly. That's the point I'm only trying to make.
Okay, doke.
Go, right. So, chapter 21.
Go, yeah. 21.
Well, we
21
agree.
and
There's
on.
nothing really more we can hash about that, and it's probably best we move on. Right. We'll go to chapter 10 and then we'll move down. Verse 10.
Bill Ashby is right. There are multiple gods described in the Bible. In fact, at one point, God says, I stand amongst gods. And other things more definitive. And I went around to a place where not one thing took place. And I saw there something terrible. No high heavens, no founded earth, but a void place, awful and terrible. And there I saw 7 stars of heaven, tied together to it, like great mountains, and flaming as if by fire. At that time I said, on account of what sin are these bound, and why have they been cast hither? And then answered Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, conducting me, and said to me, Enoch, concerning what dost thou ask, and concerning what dost thou inquire, and ask and art anxious? These of the stars who have transgressed the command of God, the highest, and are bound here till 10,000 worlds. Well, there you go, worlds again. The number of the days of their sins shall have been consummated. And from there I went to another place, which was still more terrible than the former. And I saw a terrible thing. A great fire was there, which burned and flickered, and in sections it was bounded by a complete abyss. Great columns of fire were allowed to fall into it. Its extent and size I could not see, and I was unable to see its origin. And at that time I said, how terrible this place is, and painful to look at. At that time answered Uriel, one of the holy angels, who was with me. He answered and said to me, Enoch, why such fear and terror in thee concerning this terrible place and the presence of this pain? And he said to me, this is the prison of angels, and here they are held to eternity. That's really interesting and weird.
Yeah, well, I just take this as a fact that he's been taken to a prison.
You know, it seems to me that when I watch, and I'm not saying necessarily this is what it's saying, it's just something that popped into my head. I don't think this is in keeping with my overview, but I think it's interesting to me. If you've ever seen actual film footage of the sun, say looking at it in iron, then it looks very much like this, that there's these pillars that rise and fall out of it. Those would be, solar flares and such, sunspots, and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, that's definitely, I would agree with pareidolia, because that story really doesn't lean reference to that. It sounds more like a prison, right. But I think you would be open to that statement. On that statement's merits alone would be a wee touch of pareidolia there.
Yeah, I think so.
Good, I like the way you're open about that. But yeah, I just see a hell. Or sorry, not a hell. Maybe what people would take as a hell, but I see a prison. He's taking them down, and he's taking Enoch down because he's like, see them boys you just dropped that message off with? This is what they have coming. These are the other fuckers that broke the rules on the other Earths, the multiple worlds. And we're going to keep them here till we've done 10,000 worlds of this shit. And when we've done 10,000 worlds, we're going to take everybody out and judge everybody. Is that normal English and Irish slang enough? No?
I think it works. I think we should move on.
Yeah, I explained that perfectly. Totally self-explanatory. It's like
I think it's creating a mindset here where we can say, and it goes on about the same topic long enough, that, I mean, to our mind, at least to my mind, it sounds very, very repetitive. It's saying the same thing again and again.
Yep. You give a wee bit more detail each time, but they're really dragging it out. Like,
the good thing about dragging out a text like this, it would be hard to change it enough. You'd have to change it on purpose to make it not say that when it says the same thing several times.
Or it could have started out as a really small story and people added to it over time.
Well, they sucked at it. If they wanted to add to the story, they wouldn't just repeat the same story. I think that's not very inventive.
Or other people could have, you come up with your version of the story and my tribe come up with my version of the story, and when it all came together and put down on written form for the first time in possibly 500 years of everybody talking about it, we've got it's like if I was going to write a story that had never been written down before, I would get all the people who are the experts in it, and it possibly would be from another tribe, of a guy, over the hill, so to speak, and they've got a different version, and it all came together, and rather than saying this is the one we're agreeing on, we were like, right, we'll just drop a wee bit of mine in and a wee bit of yours in.
I need to learn more about the Council of Nicaea.
Well, I don't think that's as big a thing.
I don't think I can comment on that.
It's really not as big as what it actually is made out to be. You should look a wee bit before that on the actual different religions that were about, the different sects that were about. There's an awful lot of sects that were about. Question from KL: do you think these fallen ones are the ones released from the abyss in Revelation?
I think 8 is supposed to be that. The ones released from the abyss in Revelation. Released from the abyss. Okay, so I know that reference.
Just interrupt before you answer that. Just interrupt before you answer that while you're doing that, before we move on. Tog, get the link to your Revelation series that you did with Demolished Doctrine, the playlist. Drop it in the chat for KL, please.
Please. Thank you. That's a good idea. Yeah, there's a whole series on this, KL, that, we're doing something else right here, right now.
Do your wee short answer that I
MathPig
interrupted on, or do you want to just let him go with the playlist?
Let him go with the playlist, and we'll stay to this book.
Perfect. Hopefully Tug's done his description and splits it up and puts actually references to what chapters you're reading, all, I make fun of Tug, but I love him. He's a good lad.
He's a very nice man.
One of the weirdest neckbeards I've ever seen, but yeah.
It is different, no doubt.
Okay, chapter 22.
And from here I went to another place, and he showed me in the west a great and high mountain chain, and hard rocks, and 4 beautiful places. And beneath them were deep and broad and entirely smooth. I remember this part. As smooth as if a thing were rolled, and deep and dark to look at. And this time Raphael, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said to me, "These beautiful places are intended for this, that upon them may be assembled the spirits, the souls of the dead. For they have been created that here all the souls of the sons of men might be assembled. These places have been made their dwellings till the day of their judgment, and to their fixed period. And this period is long, till the great judgment will come over them. And I saw the spirits of the children of men who had died, and their voices reached up to heaven and lamented. At that time I asked the angel Raphael who was with me, and said to him, Whose soul is that one whose voice thus reacheth to the heaven and laments? And he answered and said to me, saying, That is the spirit that proceeded from Abel, whom his brother Cain slew, and it laments on this account, till his seed be destroyed from the face of the earth, and his seed disappeared from among the seed of men. And at that time I therefore asked concerning him, and concerning the judgment of all, and said, Why is one separated from the other? And he answered and said unto me, These 3 apartments are made in order to separate the souls of the dead, and thus are the souls of the just separated. There is a spring of water above it, buried in the earth, without a judgment having been passed upon them during their lives.
Hold on, it didn't say the earth. It just said above it light. You said above the spring
it
of water.
light.
Yeah.
And thus also is one such apartment made for the sinners when they die and are buried in the earth, without a judgment having been passed upon them during their lives. Yeah, I missed an entire line. Sorry.
You're all right. Just you threw me off completely. I was like, what? Did I get lost? And I started reading back and then reading down. And yeah.
Well, I really should have paused till you moved the page up and then started again is what I should have
In
done.
saying that, man, you're very good at that. When I move the page, you nearly continue, fluently. You're very good at following it up. So
I missed one line though, didn't I?
that's the first time in fucking 23 chapters.
Something like that.
Yeah. So we went as far as there, didn't we?
Thanks for that link, this one guy. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and he does.
I think
yeah, Discord me later. Like, don't Discord me now about the description and helping you. I'm busy. Discord me later.
Right.
Yeah, so he's went to another place, and I don't think this is the prison. He showed the prison, which is a section, possibly a ship, possibly something. I'm going from your inner critique here. Somewhere that is possibly for the bad angels that have misbehaved themselves and rid the women from other planets, right? They're in a prison. These are different sections of different, as they refer to in this, apartments or individual ships or individual nice places that the good get to go and hang out while the other 10,000 Earths are being done and wait for the time of judgment.
I think that's all accurate to the way I understand it to me.
Am I helping you here? I should let you go first.
I think you nailed it pretty good there. I mean, I don't see anything in there that would disagree with what you just said. At least I don't see anything.
Yeah, but we're going down the line because the Book of Enoch has, as I said before, I've never read it, but I do have the idea of it's talked about, and from watching the odd Ancient Aliens episode, yeah, it sounds a wee bit alien-y and spaceship-y, so that's sort of leaning me down that route as well. And considering that I talk to this man nearly every goddamn day, he's maybe rubbing off me a wee bit. I still think this is a trip or something like that, or a possibility of a different conversations or different stories being put together. I'm not a convert yet. I'm just starting to pick and see where Richard's coming from.
I really fully expect that no
you got a wee
one
bit
would
quiet.
convert to this thought process that I have.
You got a little bit quiet there, Richard.
I really believe that no one would convert to this thought process that I have until they see it for themselves. And then I expect that this is a conversation for someone who's 3 years old. That's what I really think.
Did everybody else notice that Richard got lower, or does it sound the same to you? It got lower for me.
I've been messing with it. It's my fault, not theirs.
Well, I'm not blaming the chat. They obviously have done nothing, but I'm wondering if it's just my end or the stream in
I'm
general.
also saying it's not your imagination. I was toying with the knob trying to get it perfect because I could hear myself echoing behind you, and I was trying to get it down so it'd stop.
You're now very quiet.
Okay.
Do you remember the other day when we did that thing and you kept counting and I shouted out a number?
Sure. Well, I'm trying not to have that echo because it's hard to read when you hear your own voice. Is it terrible there?
Can everybody survive? He's got very quiet, low volume. It's lower. You're going to have to go louder.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm just going to continue. I'm going to start reading, and you just tell me when to stop. I'm going to slowly turn it up as I read. If you want to take that to full size again.
Where is my mouse? There's it there. Go on ahead.
Can that be larger? Or I'm just going to have to, like, that's awesome. Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. And you just shout stop when the volume is where you like it, okay?
Yep.
Here their souls are separated in this great affliction until the day of judgment.
Turn it up faster.
And affliction upon the rivalers to eternity, and the vengeance for their souls.
You're not changing.
Here he binds them to eternity. And if it was before eternity, then this apartment has been made for the souls of those who lament and those who reveal their destruction when they were killed in the days of the sinners. And thus it is being created for the souls of the men who were not just but sinners, who were complete in their crimes, and they will be with the criminals like themselves, but their souls will not be.
You're very quiet, Richard. You're really quiet, man. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're so quiet. Would it just take it back to the original settings or something, man? I do apologize.
How's that?
It's worse.
Oh, I'm turning it the wrong way then. That's the issue. How's that?
Oh yeah,
1, 2,
word.
3,
Talk again.
4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Whoa.
7, 8, 9, 10.
Stop about 6 or 7, and around 6 or 7.
Okay, I was going the wrong way with it. Is the issue? I was getting quieter apparently.
Yep, definitely.
Is that volume okay right there?
Yeah, I think you're even louder than what you were before. So if you can deal with the echo, you may have made it worse. But you could stop it a wee bit earlier. You could turn it down.
I don't hear the echo now, so I guess whatever is different is better.
Perfect. Is everybody, I think, happy with that? Give us a 1 for some love in the chat.
Poor
right.
people trying to.
Richard,
Luckily,
start again.
They can read this as well as I can. Let me find my place. At that time I blessed the Lord of glory and said, Blessed my Lord, the Lord of glory and of justice, who rules all things to eternity. I think this is repetitive enough that we don't really need to cover that. It's just talking about the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Days of the sinners.
Yeah, right. Yeah, show me a mountain chain, day and night. I went to it 7 magnificent mountains, each one different than the other, beautiful. Right, and among them was
here
tree.
we go. Oh, I just saw the word tree right there, and I think this is the eucalyptus.
Right, and the 7th hill. We'll stop here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and we're going to highlight that. No. We're going to highlight this a light blue because it needs to be red. It's relevant, but it's just repeating, so it's light blue. Not like the pink because it's just pure reference. And we go to the end of chapter 25 and it says, i.e. trees. This is chapter 24, verse 3. So if anybody in the chat can remember that's here maybe next week when we get to the description, I would very much like to read that particular part, what these scholarly people say about this. Because it's important to your story, I'd like to focus a wee bit more on what the scholarly people say, and hopefully it should be in the bits and bobs below. So go on ahead there, Richard.
And the 7th hill was between these, and in their heights they were all like the seats of a throne and surrounded with fragrant trees. And among them was a tree such as I had never smelt before, neither among these nor among others. Nor was there a fragrance like it. Its leaves and buds and wood do not wither to eternity. Its fruit is beautiful, like the fruit of the vine and of the palm tree. And at that time I said, Behold, this is a beautiful tree, and a beautiful to look at. And its leaves are fair, and its fruit very pleasant to the eye. And that time answered Michael, one of the holy honored angels, who was with me, who was over them.
Well, he didn't say the thing, so if you want to continue on, it was the end of the chat, but it wasn't the end of the story. As you say, irrelevant points sticking in fucking numbers sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes they did. And he said to me, Enoch, what dost thou ask of me concerning the fragrance of this tree, and dost seek to know? Then I, Enoch, answered him, saying, concerning all things I desire to know, but especially concerning this tree. And he answered me, saying, this high mountain which thou hast seen, whose summit is like the throne of God, is the throne where the holy and great God of glory, the eternal King, will sit when he shall descend to visit the earth with goodness. And this tree of beautiful fragrance cannot be touched by any flesh until the time of the great judgment, when all things will be atoned for and consummated for eternity. This will be given to the just and humble, for its fruits of life will be given to the chosen, and will be planted toward the north and in a holy place, towards the house of the Lord, the eternal King. Then they will rejoice greatly and be glad in the Holy One. They will let its fragrance enter their members. That threw me. I'm completely lost where I was. Tree, answer, tree, beautiful fragrance, touched flesh, north toward.
Man, you're just saying really
members.
bad words. You know Sammy's gonna fucking edit all
and live
this.
a long life upon the earth, as thy fathers lived, and in their days no sorrow or sickness or trouble or affliction will touch them. Then I blessed the Lord of glory and eternal King, because he had prepared such for the just man, and he created such, and said he would give it to them.
I didn't listen to a goddamn thing you said, man, because it was just words. And earlier you said this, that, and the other, which I'm not repeating.
Terrible.
Yeah.
When you turned it blue, my eyes totally followed your cursor. I had no idea. I had no idea where I was at all. But anyway, that's good for a laugh.
Yeah, that was good for a laugh. And it's getting near the end anyway. We used to go for an hour. We decided we would go for an hour and a half and start a wee bit early. And yeah, the last 15 minutes is usually us rounding up. And I think we've got to that talk shit stage. So.
Okay, so now's a good time for anybody in side chat to engage. If you've been saving a question, now's the time to give it.
That's a good point, Tug. I should post the link to the PDF in the fucking server, or in the description. It's freely available. I'll definitely find out where I got it from and post the link. I'll put it in below later. But up until then, I'll post the actual PDF if anybody wants it. If anyone's in the Discord, it's all below if you want to join. And yeah, it'll be in the Discord after this. I'll throw the link in the general chat for everybody if they want it.
And everyone, I promise I'll use a mic reading program and get this thing right in between shows, so you won't have to put up with me messing with it next week.
It was fine before for us. I could hear the tiny echo in the background. They probably wouldn't because of the background music, which you don't hear. But
right.
Yeah. Don't do it mid fucking stream when all's good, man. At least give us some warning. You know? KL, if you want to jump in and vocalize your questions and ask anything to Richard directly, let us know, man. I'll email you the link if you need it, or you can email me and then I'll email you back, probably the quickest way. And I'll send you the StreamYards link. We can hang out for a wee bit afterwards if you want. I'm sure Richard's open to that. Yeah? No?
Yes.
Yes, it does not have to be streamed online if you want. We can just have a hangout, the three of us. Just let me know if the chat if you want to, man. We can definitely do that. What you can do in 10 minutes in VC would take 10 hours in text.
True story.
Yeah. So we haven't really got anything back from the chat, Richard. If you want to give everybody a bit bob and hidey ho, and have you anything coming up?
If Lucy Luxor will forgive me, I guess we'll be doing a show next week, maybe. Let's see, this Friday night or tomorrow night. My brain. Tomorrow night we have Marty Camejo, and we're going to talk about loss of love and hardships caused by life on this earth, and how we deal with it in our systems of belief. She being pagan, me being, well, I can only say theist, I guess is the best label. and we're going to do a stream on that, and probably invite people on. So if you've lost someone recently and you'd like to talk about that, and you come to my channel, not MathPig's channel, Marty and I are doing that tomorrow night, starting at 9 o'clock Central. I'm sorry, 9 o'clock Eastern. 9 o'clock Eastern. Say it twice.
Yeah, make sure. Yeah, Richard needs to check his times. Just say your time, Richard. What'll it be in your time? And other people will do it better than you will. What time is it in your time?
I know she's in Eastern and she said 9. I can remember that. Let's not mess with it. I'll get it wrong.
9 o'clock Eastern. Okay, 9 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah.
In the PM.
Yes, 9 o'clock PM Eastern. Yes.
I'm just fucking with you.
Hey man, I mean, I got kicked out of the Army for stuff like this because my brain just won't do it.
No, that's cool, man. It's understandable, and I hope that all gets sorted. But yeah, should be cool. It'd be grand. Well, anyway, everybody, thank you very much for turning up. I really appreciate it. And me and a friend of mine have been talking about a tagline. I don't know about a tagline. If you can think of a better tagline for the channel, please do leave it in the comments below.
What's the one you're thinking about now? What is it?
You sure?